Hello, romance readers. If you're looking for your next read and feel inspired by some of the books we've covered on Too Stupid to Live, be sure to check out TSTL's very own storefront on bookshop.org. Here, you will find a collection of books that the show has covered, as well as personal recommendations from me, Becky Feldman, the host of TSTL, who is talking to you right now. So rest assured, you don't need to worry about remembering titles or author names or having to go back into the episode catalog. Just head to bookshop.org/shop/TSTL podcast to view a collection of the books that the show has covered. That's bookshop.org/shop/TSTL podcast. Happy reading. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast about romance novels, usually $5 and under. I'm your host, Becky Feldman, and this month we are starting out with a TSTL with a little extra spice episode. For you new listeners out there, a little extra spice are episodes where I chat with some of the most interesting people I know about romance-adjacent topics. And I hope you have your pencil sharpened, because today, class is in session. Today, we're talking about what it is like to take a romance writing class, particularly what it is like to take a romance writing class being taught by romance editor and writer Jeanne De Vita, as she is the guest who is talking about the class. Okay, you know what? I said that awkwardly. You guys, Jeanne De Vita, the book Jeanne, is back on TSTL to talk to you about what it is like to write and teach romance. This episode is so inspiring, I guarantee by the end you'll be wanting to write your own romance novel. And if you do, TSTL better be thanked first in your acknowledgments. I mean, it's just common courtesy. Okay, so I'm not going to delay anymore. Please enjoy this episode of TSTL with a little extra spice, Romance Writing 101. Oh my God. Jeanne!
I can't even let you get the whole word out.
It's fun. No, but this is exciting.
I know. I'm so happy to see you.
I am so happy to see you too. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been too long.
It really has been. And it's so interesting because I feel like when you were on the show, you know, we talked like we were discussing a book. That's what we were there to do. But we were talking a little bit about like how you teach and how you're an editor and everything that you do for the romance community. And I was like, I could do a whole episode on you. And that's what I'm going to do right now.
It's so sweet. You know, it's so weird too. Doesn't it feel like it was like 1971 when we last saw each other? Like, I feel like 10 lifetimes have passed.
Yeah. And it feels like last week, but it also feels like 10 years ago, if that makes any sense at all.
I think that describes all of adulthood. I feel like that about like pretty much, I mean, and I've said this before, probably to you in other places, but like, I have clothing older than my roommate here in LA. And I'm like, when you really think about that, like one time he was drinking out of a mug. I'm like, you realize that mug I bought like before you were born. He's like, wow. But time is relative. It's great to see you now. So thank you for having me.
It really is. Oh my God. Thank you for being here. Okay. How has your life changed for the better since last appearing on Too Stupid to Live? I have to ask.
Oh, yeah.
As the egotistical person that I am.
No, that's so sweet. Changing for the better is always a good thing to focus on. Positive, because we could do a whole episode about like the wildness of the world. But yeah, everything actually is amazing. Like I think, and I have to kind of do the walk back in time, how long ago it's been, but I'm teaching at way more places now, which is amazing. Working with lots of different clients that I wasn't necessarily working with before. So more of the same, but all good. Like I just could not be more happy and grateful for the work that I get to do every day. I have so many just dumb little stories, but like just things that, you know, one of the places I teach, I was telling the program director about one of the students. I'm like, this book is good. Like, this is exciting. And she's like, wait, that is even a thing that this person was, it was like dark romance. So I was telling her a little about the tropes and she's like, tell me about this dark romance. I'm like, oh, sit down.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this that like, because I imagine you're within a department and like you're educating also your fellow department members about.
Yes. And that's the cool thing, because I think all the places, you know, that hire working writers, working editors, they want us to actually be part of the industry and doing what we're doing. And so I have so many stories, and I just have to try to like not only talk about the stories and focus also on what the students are there to do.
Right.
But I think they like it, you know, because people who take adult writing or editing classes, they want to learn it. They're not here for like, I gotta just phone this in because it's a requirement for anything. Like they've chosen it. Like they give up time with their kids and spend money to do this thing. So it's a totally different energy, which I love. I love.
Totally. Like one of my favorite experiences as an adult is going to writing classes, because I feel like the class, we all kind of became like a little family in a way. We're all rooting for each other. And granted, my classes were comedy and storytelling. And I was like curious if that you kind of get that vibe in your classes, even though people are working on like fictional romance.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's the thing I'll say, because I've taught different types of courses, but the romance writers, you don't always get like the whole course energy where we're like really mesh well and we're like a community, but you'll always get people who are that way and who are looking for it. And then when it really does hit and you've got a group that works well together, it's like I taught a course I think it was this winter, and like we didn't want it to end. Like the last Zoom that we had, it was like virtual hugs and the longest goodbye of my life, but it's so great because it makes me feel like, yay, people got what they needed out of it, not just craft and feedback, all of which is super important, but it's the human stuff too, where you're like, we're all doing this and we all care so much and we're supportive of each other. So 100% romance writers are that way, although maybe we're not quite as funny as comedy writers. But
no, I'm sure you're funnier. Trust me.
But definitely the heart of it. People are just, they want to be here, you know, even people who like have never written and are very insecure, like, oh, I haven't written a word since high school or whatever. They're so into just the vibes and the genre and all the little nuances. It's the best. Romance writers for. I'm actually, you can't even see, so it probably was a waste because I've got like the neck up. But my shirt says read Smut. I'm going to roll all the way back.
I love it.
You're only going to see the read.
You can see the read part, but I'm assuming it's like,
well,
I'll assume it says Smut. Like, oh my God. Well, it's so funny when I saw you the other week, you were like, I want to tell people that I teach Smut at Stanford, which is basically what a great thing to put on your business card. Just Smut professor of Smut, Dr. Smut.
I love it. I know. And I'm like, should I do it? Would that get me fired? Would I no longer teach Smut at Stanford if I said that?
I made all these t-shirts. No, yeah.
But it was worth it. It was so worth it.
But so, okay, you worked at UCLA, you work at Stanford. Like, can you talk about like when like maybe more academic institutions were like, oh, teaching the art and the skill of writing romance in particular as a genre, like this is a lucrative, teachable, like kind of course. Like I'm assuming like that there was kind of like not a movement, but like it was like, oh, like people are looking, there is a need for this. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about especially teaching at Stanford. Like I remember pitching it because UCLA Extension has always wanted genre fiction. They've always valued it. They've taught, you know, sci-fi, horror, young adult, everything. Mm-hmm. And so the way that I actually got hired there is a wild story. It's like super woo-woo, very LA story, but it's fun. It's funny. But then I actually pitched teaching romance to Stanford just cold. Like, I don't know, even know how I saw it or where. I just filled out like a form. Mm-hmm. And they contacted me and they were like, we're really interested in this, but we just don't know if our population's going to be interested in this. And so they told me a little bit about like kind of the average student that does take writing courses at Stanford, continuing studies. We should probably say that, you know, like I am not on campus, you know, teaching undergrads how to write Smut. That would be amazing. I would do it.
What?
Yeah. I know. What an elective.
I know someone who did write Smut for an or it was like something, it was like a class on sexuality. It wasn't just like how to write a romance novel, but like she was allowed to like go into that world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no. And I think even undergrad institutions and English departments, like genre fiction is being recognized in ways that definitely never was before. And there's still stigma. So like back to the Stanford story, they just weren't sure how it was going to be received. And the first class, the first time we ran it, it sold out, and the wait list was as long as the class that was, that was full, the available seats. And every time I've taught it, I think it's been that way. It's definitely had a decently long wait list. And so I don't know. I think, and again, because obviously I'm the instructor, I don't have access to all the information, but I do think a lot of people who were in the Stanford population, they were taking continuing studies courses, or at least on the mailing list, were interested, and then other people discovered it because romance is it's just a matter of like where it's being taught, when it's being taught. And the structure of a class too matters, I think, because some people definitely need asynchronous where they don't have to be anywhere at a certain time.
Okay.
Whereas Stanford continuing studies, that's like a tongue twister. Say it really fast.
Continuing studies. Yeah.
Say it 3 times.
That's on them. Yeah.
If I were going to make one recommendation, no, let's not change the name. They definitely require weekly live sessions. And that is, really important to those students where they get that live time. I do have recorded lectures so they can watch, basically me do this like blah, 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 if they want to at their leisure on the treadmill. Yeah. But every week they get to like sit in a room and talk to other writers and ask questions and do the live stuff. So just to kind of like put a period at the end of your question, I feel like as long as I've lived in LA, which has been about 12 years now, there's been this need for it. Lots of people are really interested in writing genre fiction. And I should say this, but without being like, I'm not like stirring pots. There's just like so much information on the internet, and not all of it is really well-informed. Well-intentioned, I think it is.
Sure.
But is it what I would, the advice I would take and apply to my own book? No. Or my own clients? No. So I think that institutional backing makes them feel like this person's been vetted, the curriculum's been vetted, and I'm going to come out of it with, what I paid for, hopefully, maybe more.
Sure. Yeah. Well, okay. I want to ask you about your curriculum. Like if you could give a summary of it, because my brother actually teaches it at USC Extension, and like has to come up with his own, he doesn't teach romance, but has to, come up with the curriculum. And, whenever he's planning it, he's always like diligently working on it. And I want to know about your process of coming up with your curriculum.
Thank you for asking, because that's the thing that no one ever cares about, Becky. It's a lot of work. It's really
it seems like, it was like, oh my God, like it's like writing a season of a TV show. Like it feels like, because you have to it's not like you have to keep them entertained, but you educated is harder.
Well, and the thing is, there's so much to teach. On the one hand, you're like, well, what is there to teach? You just, no, there's a lot. Like it's novel structure, it's beats, it's market considerations. There's a lot of individual pieces. So what I try to do especially is contemplate everything. So start with what is the basic of writing a romance novel. Obviously, we know like the essential covenants that the writer has with the reader, and then structure is important, dealing with the different subgenres and how those are different, studying good examples, feedback, workshopping, giving editorial notes, and also helping students understand like what is a valuable editorial note. Because that's the other part, is when you give peer critique, you can get a lot of like cheerleading, which is you need it, so do it, get it. But then you also have to have kind of the honesty where, yes, this is amazing, but let's look at this other way. So my average course build, I spend easily 40 to 100 hours building. Once the course is kind of roughed out and I just have an outline of what I want to do, additional resources, reading, selections, and it's a ton of work, but it's super, super worth it and fun. And it lets me like explore tons of different writers that maybe I haven't visited in a while, and make sure I'm like touching on all the different parts of the subgenres that we care about so much. So it's definitely like the world's most fun job, but it is still work. I still,
Yeah. Is there one part where it's like one sort of like lesson or kind of subcategory where you're like, now my time to shine? Like, I love this. I love when I teach this class. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. It's always for me novel structure, because you'll hear things like, oh, well, we know we need to have a meet cute. And a lot of authors think I'll just put that, lots of setup of the characters. And so it's one thing to just have me say like, no, you don't want 25 pages of setup. And here's what setup is defined as, here's how it works on the page, and here's where the meet cute probably should go. But also, like, honestly, with the caveat that, like, there's a million ways to do this well. So you could break all these rules and be like an absolute bestseller, no doubt about it. But let's just say you're starting from zero. Like, I want to give you the context in a shape that you can follow and hopefully repeat later. But structure, everybody loves learning about structure and the beats, and it really transforms the way you read and see things that happen in the book. So maybe we should do like a structure for readers class so that readers appreciate the level of effort that our authors go to just to like execute on this amazing story. It's a lot more than just like.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's funny because I was thinking like, even like the way human beings think, they think in structure, like they think like I feel like people already have maybe an innate understanding of a beginning, middle, and end. And it's like, oh, books, TV, and writing classes, just like kind of like be like, oh, you can label it. Like,
yeah, exactly. But then it gets really hard because like you have, and this is like, I don't want to speak out of school literally about any of my students, but like I always start with this one particular worksheet that like breaks down certain building blocks. And if you don't have them, you know the book is not going to come together. Right. And I have one student in one of my 10-week classes who'd spent the entire 10 weeks on the worksheet. And she's like, look, I don't care. I need to get it right. Like, I'm not going to waste an entire 2 years of my life writing a book that doesn't have the essential pieces. Then I'm going to get frustrated. So I'd rather spend 10 weeks hammering out, okay, I don't have internal conflict and I need it. Okay, I don't have stakes. And now I really understand what that looks like. But it's really structure. I love it. It's so nerdy and so fun, but you're right. Like, especially then you go and you sit and watch a movie or you watch TV shows and you just appreciate the craft behind everything. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, but it's still, I don't think it ruins things for you. You would know that though. Does knowing as much as you know ruin it for you?
Not at all. Cause like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I love the idea of structure just because life doesn't have structure. And it's like, I think that's why the phenomenon of stories is just like so soothing to people. And I'm just like thinking about that now and, you know, just, and how when I, you know, flock to romance novels and it's like it ends so lovely. And I don't know, like, I feel like it's like, you know, when like you walk into a building and you're like, how's the foundation of this house? Is it steady? And it's like, okay, when I know structure, I know that the story is like steady. It's going to work. I'm going to be invested, you know, like it's kind of like a promise in a way.
No, it is. And like for me, when I find like my favorite, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily even have to be books, but like my favorite creators, I can get really, really lost in what they do because I trust them. And I know that like they're taking me on that journey. They're not going to throw anything at me that's going to be disruptive or just because like when you know enough about something that you care about, whether it's fantasy, romance, whatever, and then someone throws a monkey wrench in it and you're like, you've ruined it. Right. I had 1 hour to do this thing. And now, you know, so whenever I get to super fan status, it's always because I just really trust the creator and the craft that they're putting into it. And I can get completely lost, unplug my brain and have an amazing time. And that's romance does so much more than that. But that like is the point of entry, has to be, I think.
Mm-hmm. So do most of your classes like, is it like at the end of 10 weeks or however long it is, like students are going to have like an outline or a basic idea or even begin a novel for themselves?
It depends. I've had 10-week classes, like I said, where students might spend the whole 10 weeks refining their idea, which is totally fine. Like if that's what it takes. I've had 10-week classes where I've had students fast draft 50,000 words in 10 weeks. Yeah. Wow. Because especially when I have, and this is the thing based on, you know, where we are and where we're teaching and stuff, you get a lot of people from entertainment who want to write novels and they understand script structure and they have a great idea and they're like, I can do this in 10 weeks. They do. Right. But even people without like a writing background or an entertainment background, like if the passion and the support is there, I've had people write 15, 20,000 words in 10 weeks. And it's because they kind of unlock that process. and then it just comes out. And I think starting with some structure, starting with a worksheet, and it's not just like, what is the name of your character? What do they have for breakfast?
Right.
It's like a structure worksheet.
Yeah.
Those things are super fun. I love doing it too. Throw it in there. But the foundation, like let's get the pieces, the puzzle pieces lined up. You can just go fast, especially if you have the time, the motivation. So it does depend. But in a 10-week setting, yeah, it's hard to imagine, but I've seen some incredible revisions too, where people will just write something and you're like, ooh, love the premise, and then they work on it. And in 10 weeks, they're like a different writer because they can apply, especially in the line editing area, like an author's voice is one of those things that's really going to sell a book, even if the book itself maybe structurally isn't quite perfect. That's why like some of our favorite authors are just auto reads, because it's so easy to read them and just get lost in their voice. And so getting to the point where that voice is really consistent, sometimes people just need to see how and what isn't working, and you show them the way and they're like, whoosh, off.
How do you define author's voice? Like, I know what author means and I know what voice means, obviously, but like, because it is like such a hard thing. Like, I know what you're talking about, but what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yes,
no, I know
yes. No, that's an awesome question, because so my simple definition for author voice is literally like the words on the page. What do they sound like? And I break it down when I'm teaching editors how to edit for it. So I'll give you that sort of like multi-step. There's a couple things that you look for, like the cadence, the length of your sentence. Like if there's a musicality and a rhythm to the flow of your words, which actually though I tell editors never use the word flow because it's meaningless, and like authors are like, what is that? How do I edit for flow?
Right.
So I will say it, don't ever use it though. But if you have like the readability, when you read your own work out loud, even if it's one long sentence and you're like, is this working? If you stumble over like where you're putting the emphasis, your reader's going to hear that too. And so an author's voice is consistently being able to fully adopt sort of that narrative pacing, cadence, musicality that just makes it effortless to read.
Yeah. Because like, I mean, I don't know. I think like Emily Henry, like we know her voice, or,
Yes.
just like other authors that we all love. And it's just like, oh, it's so hard to define, but it kind of sounds like, oh, it's in their voice as if they were saying this aloud. That's what it sounds like to me. I know that it's more than that, but
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so good that we have such like diversity in voices, and from very simple and readable, maybe straightforward, to much more lyrical and nuanced. There's something for everyone, and many readers like to read all over that continuum. But the important thing is not whether you're here or there, but that you consistently develop what your voice sounds like, which isn't easy to do. I mean, literally, if you give one writing prompt to 10 different people, they're going to come up with 10 different things creatively, structurally, but they're also all going to sound different. And so that's like the fun thing. But if I told you, like, Becky, write this scene 5 different ways, your voice might come out 5 different ways. And so getting to the point where you can consistently reproduce it in a way that feels comfortable and works for you and works for the characters and also the reader, it can be a little bit painful and tedious, especially when you've already written, let's say, 100,000 word book. And then I come in and I'm like, too many adjectives. Let's trim back a few of these.
Right. Yeah. Like, do you ever, I don't know why I'm so fascinated about this idea, but like, do you ever like, people are like, okay, I want to write a different type of story, but like but I know I want to keep my voice. Like, do you ever run into like those kinds of issues of like, I want to experiment, I want to try something new, I'm evolving or whatever, but I also want this to be true to me. Like, what kind of challenges are in that process?
Yes, that is very, very common, because very few writers only want to stay in one lane. We want to do it all. We want to paint on every canvas. And so contemporary versus, let's say, fantasy or even dark romance, like dark romance really does have a very different tone and vibe to it than just contemporary romance, even though theoretically they're both contemporary, maybe. So yeah, the challenges of doing it are, I think it's, you pull in other aspects of craft to build that voice up. So theme for sure, tone, point of view too. Like it's very, very tough to effectively convey dark in third person unless like you're in certain places, like maybe in epic fantasy. But if you picture like dark romance, like taboo, you really think like, I want to get deep into the head of these characters. And if you're in it for 100,000 words, now that's not to say like the whole trend of serial killer romance and like stalkers and all that. A lot of those are done in third and they're done super, super well. But if you're trying to learn, pulling from all these different tools, maybe it's POV that's going to get me more close to the voice that I want. Maybe it's verb tense. Sometimes just going from present to past or past to present is a really good exercise to see, like, does it feel more consistent? Does it feel better paced?
Yeah, because I feel like it would be like kind of the mood of it, whether it's past tense or present tense, would feel different, you know, like that. It is such a, oh wow. Like,
okay, here's your homework, Becky.
Okay, yes.
Go write your scene 2 different ways.
Okay, great. Well, actually, about homework, I did have a question about that. What is like the homework that you assign? But then also, like, let's say someone comes in and they're like, I have no idea what I want to write. I just know I want to write something. Like, what is like the first step you tell those students to take? And then like, what does homework look like?
Yeah. So I think that is not uncommon. Sometimes people are just really passionate about the genre, but they don't have that character they want to write about, or that trope that they're like, I want to write enemies to lovers or whatever. So I always start with like a story building worksheet that kind of helps you not only figure out who the people are, but what is the world they live in that's like created their trauma, their problem, whatever their need is, you know, because you always want to, I think this has definitely changed from maybe like 10 years ago, but I used to see a ton of work where the like female main character was like perfect, beautiful, perfect. Everyone loved her. We are not seeing that as much in unpublished spaces now. I'm getting a lot more nuanced and, you know, deeply troubled main characters, which probably just because it's a culture, we're all like a hot mess now, but it's fine. We see ourselves reflected everywhere on social media and we're like, yeah, we're all messy. It's great. Yeah. But that's where we start. And so we figure out who we want to write about, why we care about them, why our actual readers would care about them, the world they live in, and then some other things like stakes, which can be tough to define, but it's the so what question. Like, why does this matter now? Why is all this happening or coming together now? And then the homework would be, if you don't have those pieces figured out, like here's a worksheet with prompt questions, pin these things down and test them in different ways. Like, is there a critical time element? Is there urgency? Are there consequences if this stuff doesn't happen? And so we kind of work on that. But then you just have to do it. Like you have to write. But I also, and because I get to be the teacher, people have to do it. I do give reading assignments. And so I usually like to give a pretty long approved reading list. Like I'm not going to say there's these 3 best books. Like here's a list of 20. Pick what feels right to you. Or
Cool.
Yeah. And then I just want you to kind of identify in those books, like read the book, but then identify these things in those books that you've read. See how it works. And that way, when you sit down to do it for yourself, because I like people writing fast, you know, we'll worksheet as long as you need a worksheet. But as soon as you feel like, yeah, I just want to like dive into chapter 1, even if that's before we talk about structure, you can always revise. But seeing, you know, between the worksheet, books that we read, and then your own ideas and discussion prompts and things I've made you answer in quizzes. Hopefully you're ready. But I do design quizzes. I love designing quizzes. It's like the most fun thing to be able to be like, I'm scoring and this is so fun.
Like, okay, so when you design quizzes, like what is a quiz? Give me an example quiz question and I'll get it wrong, but what's an example quiz question?
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is one of my favorite things. So you might not be able to do it live though, Becky, because you would actually have to go do it. So I would tell you to go find a book on Amazon that you absolutely loved and identify like 3 different things about that book. So first of all, the category that it's ranked in. So you have to go down to that product, you know, detail thing. Identify the category, identify the sales rank, and tell me where it's published. Like, is it wide or is it exclusive to Amazon based on, is it in Kindle Unlimited? Where else could you possibly buy it? And that is going to tell you a lot about the book. Even forget about the reviews, how big or small the author is, but that's just going to give you data. And so being able to find these data points when you're later thinking about publishing, self-publishing, whatever that looks like, you're going to need to know how to find this information for yourself and then figure out whether you're running ads or just self-publishing your book, or you've got a publisher who wants to do certain things. Yeah. Learning, like I don't want to call it evidence necessarily, but it's like, it's facts, where are the books that you're going to be competing with? Is it, you might be surprised at some of the categories that some of the romance novels that sell really well are in. Mm-hmm. Why that is, we can have a whole discussion about that, but that would be like a quiz question. And then I would,
so it's like, oh, that's cool. So it's like kind of like industry in addition to maybe craft and, the art of it, which that is very interesting. Cause I am curious as to like, I mean, what is Amazon now? Or it's just like, what does those Amazon things tell you? Like, let's say someone is published Kindle Unlimited. It's in this category. Like, how does that like help or hinder like someone's success?
Yeah, well, you can learn a lot of things about what you want to do based on what's already happening, right? So just like I always do like to use this analogy, it's almost like if you want to go on Shark Tank with like a brand new barbecue sauce, it's like, well, oh my gosh, isn't there enough out there already? And that's what people say about books. That's what people say about, but no, if you research the market and you're like, no one is putting marshmallows in barbecue sauce. Well, does anyone even want that? Maybe it's the best I don't know. So you have to go to the store and look at what's on the shelf and see how much it's priced and see how many bottles are on the shelf. And for us as writers, Amazon is that tool, even though, there's plenty of other places to buy your books, and please support all of those places, including our beloved indie bookstores. But Amazon is literally like investigation. It's the place you go to find this information. And so if you're thinking about writing something and you're like, well, no one's doing this, are they? And if they are, is that a good thing versus a bad thing? You want to have that market research. And if they're not, maybe there's a reason. Is there not a huge market for this thing? Which could be great if you want to capitalize on that and go wild in the marshmallow flavored barbecue sauce aisle. But it's information. And so knowing how to make decisions, I do always try to bring in kind of some business stuff. People get really nervous about self-publishing and being in Kindle Unlimited, thinking, oh, this means that, or I'm giving my book away for free. When you do the math and the numbers, it's at the end of the day, if you're making money, you are making money. Right. And so who is the audience there? Where, if you're selling this type of a romance novel, if all your competitors are in KU, but you're not, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And I'm not going to tell anyone. I never tell students like, you must do this. I'm the authority. Things change. Right. So I hopefully show people the path and say, look at this, consider this, and then make your own decision. And then you can change your mind if it doesn't work for you. But if you never have someone who's been in the industry point these things out to you, like you're exactly that question. What on earth can we learn just by looking at Amazon? A lot, hopefully.
Yeah. It sounds like an important thing is maybe knowing what your goal is for writing the book, in addition to writing the book, in addition to finishing.
Yes. And that's something that I probably could focus more on in the beginning of class. I think I try to do it when we get to the publishing stuff.
Right.
Because I don't want people to feel like I'm not ready to publish and now there's all this pressure. I want people to still love writing. Just like if you never plan to publish and you just want to write this one book for the rest of your life, yay, awesome, do it. But if you do want to have that intel, you'll get it. But it's all about kind of making sure that exactly what you said. What is your goal? If you just want to write this for yourself, wonderful. Let's de-emphasize the market stuff, the publishing stuff, especially when you start like going through costs and branding and marketing and all that. Then people are like the blank stare and they're like, no, I just wanted to tell this love story. I just wanted to write about vampires, for God's sake.
I mean, I have a feeling that like your author clients are going through that too, just in the last like 10 years seeing all the self-promotion that like published authors are doing. And I'm like, are they all taking classes on how to be influencers? Like,
I know. Because we don't want to. Oh my gosh. This is my true honest to goodness. Like, I did try to be on TikTok for a hot minute. I would like spend 2.5 hours and not even be able to put together. Like, I am just not that person. Yes. I would like have my phone and I would be like doing it early when my roommate was still asleep because I feel like such a fool. And my dog would be like locked in my room. I'm like, this is so hard. How do people just like get on and do? Yeah. I am an off camera person for sure. But yeah, I mean, the pressure, and this is, so maybe I can give you just sort of one thing that I'll say is timely, and this could change tomorrow. I don't know. But there's been a lot of discussion lately about retail placement. So if you actually want to get into Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, like what does that mean? I personally don't think you need to have a huge social following to get a book deal, but the minute you do, the pressure is on to build one. Mm-hmm. And so some of the authors who are writing amazing stuff and have solid, reviews and sales, it's the social it's like another metric that definitely impacts what happens in other places. And so, yeah.
Do you think that's like affecting maybe people's attitudes now, about like going in, like say they want to write a new book or, just, are they taking into account the marketing of it all more so you think than like maybe 10 years ago or something?
I think people who are just getting into it now definitely are. I think, and this I'll just say from the experience I have with authors who have been in it for 10 to 12 years, they're pretty hesitant to change because what's working for them is working. And there is this fear that if all of a sudden, and not all of us, like I said, like I am not this on-camera personality and a lot of writers aren't. So if there's this pressure all of a sudden to be like TikToking constantly, there's a fear that that could actually not be a good thing. What if your readers don't like how you dress or look or sound or what you say, So, but it's become a factor, I think, for sure. And how every author navigates that is different. And that's all good too. It's just being aware of it and making a decision and sticking with it.
Yeah. Back to you, you were talking about like your students, because I just like listening to you talk, I'm like, oh, the time commitment it takes. Like, tell me about like how like the time commitment it would take to be a student in your class, and then also like I don't want to say like describe a typical student, but like can you tell me like, I mean, and obviously without like kind of breaking any confidentiality, but like who's in your class? Is there anyone that you're like, oh, that's interesting, you want to write it? Do you know what I mean? Not like in a mean, I'm not saying in a mean way, I'm saying in an unexpected way, I guess maybe is my question.
Yes, for sure. Well, it's different in each place that I teach, especially in terms of the time. So like if I'm teaching a private course that's like 4 weeks long, very different population than people who take a 10-week course at Stanford, let's say, because the time commitment. I think when you take a course at an institution, you do expect more curriculum. You expect to do more things that are not just writing, the quizzes, the reading assignments. It's all in the syllabus, so you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But the time commitment, and I do try to be pretty clear with people that we're adults. If you don't want to do that stuff, like I'm not going to rate you down for it. I have to give you points if you took this course for a grade, but if you didn't, do what you want. If you just want to write for 10 weeks, write for 10 weeks. And so I, especially just for myself, try to be very one-on-one and custom with every student, because here's the average student. The average student who takes a romance writing class is female, married with kids, and a full-time job. So there is no like, I'm in this ivory tower ready to compose, no one has time. Everyone is rushing. Everyone is doing the best they can with like slivers. And so making sure that they get what they need, they get it fast, and they really know what they need to do to make progress is, I would say that's my biggest challenge is in the job. In terms of unexpected, I'm always super unexpected. I'm always super surprised. It is unexpected when I have a student who's like really successful in like children's book publishing or like, screenwriters. It's like, you're like, why are you taking this class? Like but romance is its own really special thing. And people are afraid to screw it up and are afraid that they're going to let the reader down. Or the other thing I will tell you, writing intimacy is something that gives people a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
So
yes. Mm-hmm.
Understanding triggers and consent and protection and even just like the mechanics, like the choreography of like body parts.
Right.
People like that help, that support. So,
well, talk to me about that, about like, getting to the sensuality of it all, to the vulnerability of it all, to the, closed or open door. Like, how do you approach the subject? Like, how do you do it?
Well, I think the best way to do it is to not separate it from any other part of the book. So like we're seeing chemistry and intimacy, not necessarily physical, because you can write more on the like low chili pepper side of the spectrum, and have a great romance novel. It doesn't have to be high heat, from day one. So like there has to be a reason when you create these characters that they are that perfect partner. So what is that magic? And it's like really hard. I mean, like, I'm single. I'm not successful in this department. Like, that's why I have to like understand how to manufacture it, because it's hard to do. It's hard to get to,
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you that. Like, and I mean, it's like, because it is a thing of like, I feel like when I have people on the show, they're like, man, this author must have an amazing sex life, perfect marriage. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, okay. This is not that kind of show. So.
Right. Exactly.
There's another channel and outlet for that. But I think that's what makes romance so appealing, even for readers, is we recognize that it's like the best version of what we can have. It's not only idealized. It's not only fantasy or wish fulfillment. It's actually variations on what we've experienced. So the messy, the complicated, the uncomfortable. But in romance novels, like we have all those hard conversations, like we see growth, we talk about trauma. And so it's a good thing, I think. And if you start by creating those characters that, like, I always like to think of it like as scales. Like if you have a female main character, let's say you're writing male-female romance love story, the female main character has a certain kind of like insecurity or core wound or trauma. Like if the love interest has the same kind, they're just going to circle the drain. Like they're not going to complete each other or help each other heal. And so that brings intimacy like from page one. Like, is it inside jokes? Is it seeing each other? Is it recognizing each other's wound? Is it pushing the other person to do more than they could do on their own? So then when like the touchy-feely stuff happens, it's not in isolation. It's not like, and now page 72, it's happening.
Right. Oh, I'm loving this because it sounds like, okay, like it's like the same thing as page one. They're just changing the words to like something that would make another person blush, same, but it's like still the same action in a way.
Exactly. The cup of coffee was so hot. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, hello. Like, can you imagine? Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because, like, I think in other worlds, you get, maybe you often get the note, again, really generalized note of write what you know. But if you are writing, I don't know, alien sex on a cloud, and it's like, well, like, what if I've never done that before? What do I do? That it does feel, there is a level of it feeling daunting.
We need like a hotline to Ruby Dixon. We have some questions.
Yeah.
You have a lot of explaining to do.
So in your life, when you've had sex with all of these aliens, which I'm assuming is real.
Exactly. But here's the thing, and this gets back to like writing what you know is exactly what we do no matter what, because you're tapping into feelings. And like you said the word vulnerability. It's not necessarily all about like body mechanics. It's about the emotions, the experience, the closeness that you have. And if that's like, the Hallmark hug at the end and we get the warm feelings, great. And if it's I think the longest actual sex scene I've ever edited in my career, and I hope the author doesn't know if I call her out on this, was like 7,200 words. It was like over 7. So that's lengthy. That was a good time for those characters.
Yeah.
But even me, like, I'm like,
I need to take a break. Yeah.
Exactly. exactly. That might have been a bit too long. Fun, great time was had, but could we trim it up and then move on to the next adventure? Because the story is always about more than that.
Yeah.
Usually.
When you first started teaching, what was it like to kind of bring in these subjects, just start talking about these subjects for the first time? Now it's obviously you're always whatever, but it's the first time. What was that like? How did that feel?
Honestly, I'm not good at using the words.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the body part words, I'd always be whatever our terms are. So yeah, no, there's no question. And I am an easy blusher. I am sure I almost blew my own face off with blushing, in the early days. And I don't even I'm so glad time, I remember very little from 5-10 years ago and stuff that I've edited. I don't even want to know the things that I said, but I do know that for me, what makes it a lot easier and less uncomfortable is when someone is actually genuine about wanting to know and asking the question.
Right.
And so for me, then it's easy to be okay, this is unfamiliar to, how do I explain this? But because someone actually cares, then it's I want to get to the best answer, even if I'm not going to say, the P and the V words.
Right. Yeah. It's the intention behind it, not necessarily what the action is. Kind of the same thing of page 1 is about cup of coffee and page, whatever. It's the emotions behind it.
Exactly.
The intention behind it is I know these are two different responsibilities, but I want to know about the difference between editing and teaching and similarities between that for you. So do you ever bring in your editor's brain into teaching, the teacher's brain into editing? Tell me about how you separate but also use the same kind of sides of your brain for those two things.
Yeah, I think I do both all the time, because for me I'll start with being the editor first. Even if I have a client who's a straight up pro, New York Times bestselling romance writer, they know what they're doing. They still need, whenever there's something, whether it's a change, whether it's a recommendation, a question. Sometimes I'm I just didn't get this. What does this mean? It's never very productive or helpful to give people dead end feedback. I always like to educate and inform and explain. And so if you have a framework that's based in craft, as opposed to saying I don't get this, maybe it is a word choice. Okay, then I can say this word, I snagged on this. What did you mean? Did you mean this? But structurally, if I can always lean back on something that's more objective, the character at this point in the journey, would they do this? I'm not sure this is consistent with, then it feels like education, and it also feels hopefully gentle and impactful editing that they can disagree and do what they want to do, but it's hopefully provocative and gives them a chance to think about it. When I teach, I don't turn off the editor, because I feel people actually are not just paying for the instruction, the lessons, but that one-on-one contact with an editor who's not just going to be the cheerleader. And I always try to see the good when it's there. But I have told, and very lovingly told students this isn't respectful to the characters, that your reader could really be harmed by this. Let's really take a step back and analyze, what is your message here? What is your goal? And so I think I never switch hats fully. I'm always wearing both, I think. But I also think that's what students want. Maybe less so with my clients. Maybe sometimes they're just just fix it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, can you just do it? Yeah.
Exactly. I don't care about commas, Jeannie. Just fix them.
It seems there's a method to giving helpful criticism.
I think so. I hope so. And that's why I think workshops and classes are so great, because the peer critique is the love. And your peers are also going to say oh my gosh, I didn't really get this, or did you mean this? They'll also be thoughtful and push back when they need to. But then I think, and that's why I too, I try to time it where, and hopefully I set this expectation in the beginning, but I'm always going to deliver my graded feedback last, because I want you to have a chance, engage with the peer feedback, be thinking about it. So then it's not I'm not going to read everybody else's, because I'm only here to read the teachers. You know what I mean? And then you're not going to get the benefit of the whole process.
Right.
Get everything, hear everything, and then hopefully I come in with comments that are in line with what you've seen, but also maybe a different actionable way to approach or fix it. That's my goal, at least.
I was just about to ask, like, let's say that like you were reviewing someone's work, all of the peers are giving their, critiques, opinions, whatever. Does it ever affect how you, like, are you ever like, oh wait, I think I like that? You know what I mean? Like, are you ever, does it affect what you end up saying? Because sometimes when I'm on my show and someone has an opinion, it changes my opinion right away,
Yeah. Well, I don't think it changes my perspective, but I always weigh it, because if one person has that piece of feedback or one person has that reaction, it's never going to be just one. Like, we're not that unique. So I do want to factor it in. And so it might help me to nuance it. Like, I absolutely see that some people might have read it this way. Have you considered this? Or I might lean a little bit more to this. The hard part is when I think students give each other, I won't say bad feedback, but let's just say bad feedback. When they say something really works and I know it doesn't, then for me, I don't even touch on that issue. I'll just say, here's what I think, here's what I feel. And then I'm going to leave it to, I mean, we're all adults. We're not dealing with like kids or teenagers who might not know how to assess and weigh. We're an adult. If you think the feedback I'm giving you makes sense, phenomenal. Do with it what you will. And if you're like, no, but my peers said this, great.
I want to ask about the students you have who are, who have worked in entertainment or have written different genres. Because I wanted to ask you, like, what are some pitfalls that like you kind of see students run into? But I also am like, well, what are the pitfalls you see writers of different genres fall into when they are trying to write romance for the first time?
Yeah, I think a big one is not really understanding the specific beats of the romance novel. So, and this is, please, I am not picking on you personally, Becky. I have not been your instructor.
I mean, I'm already learning so much. This is great.
But comedy, because comedy is so different in terms of its execution. Like, something can be tremendously funny and well written, but not like, I try to give the analogy to especially like people who've been really successful writing comedy, and especially TV, that, and this is, I wish I could tell you where I learned this or read this, because this is not my original genius, but the thing that makes like episodic comedy or like TV shows so funny is we see the characters make the same mistakes over and over and they don't grow. So that's the big issue, especially with folks who have written comedy or successfully written for TV. In romance, like, we need an arc. We need, yes, be funny, but at some point there's change and there's growth and there's depth. And so if you don't take sort of that big picture approach to the novel, you might just end up with a character who is witty and wonderful and delightful, but is also at the end witty, wonderful, and delightful. And that's a little bit less satisfying. The pace is going to drag at points, because if we don't have those hard lessons, like, I honestly think my whole life and my many failures in life, which we, would go into in a different podcast, have set me up for understanding this genre, because all of our characters have to learn the hard way at some point, like something. And so I just think about the many times that, like, I can't read the IKEA instructions. I have to build the darn bookshelf wrong, take it apart, throw it away because I broke things before I realize I have to read the instructions. And it's the same thing with our characters. Like, they have to live it. And if they're too funny and quirky and delightful, they'll never, ever change. They'll just stay that way. And that's not depth and growth.
Right. Yeah. And like, what about like new writers? What are some of the pitfalls that you see?
Definitely pacing and starting in the wrong place. Pacing and starting in the wrong place is really the big one for brand new writers, because they want us to love a character or be really immersed in the universe. And so there might be like 10, 15 pages where like, but nothing's happening. You're giving us a lot of stuff and that's effort and it's word count. And I get all the work that it takes to get there. But like, I hate having to tell people, like, you could have told us this in a paragraph, not a chapter.
Yeah.
So that's, and seeing that for yourself, that's craft. Like, once you kind of understand those puzzle pieces, it becomes easier to see it for yourself, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. And like, I mean, just working, like, reading other people's scripts and like for contests and stuff and giving them feedback and like just feeling bad because it's like, oh, I know they love their words, and it's like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's hard. Like it's like, how do you make sure they don't take it personally? Well, I mean, like, you can, obviously you're not in charge of other people's emotions, you know, like there's certain boundaries that you have, but like how do you just like ensure that, like, okay, I'm giving you this note, this is still a safe space. You know what I mean?
Yes, maybe I have no boundaries, Becky, because I'm like, I'm so sorry to break your heart. No. I do try to just recognize how much work it is. And I tell people it's never wasted effort. It's like exercising, or like, I love to use ballet as an example, because you see like these amazing, perfect professional dancers, and then like they'll be in class and they'll get this like minute correction. You're like, really? Like, how could you criticize anything? It's that, like, the more you do it, yes, you may have an entire chapter that could have been, a paragraph, could have accomplished all that you needed. A, it's the effort, it's the workout, you're training yourself as a writer. But B, all that stuff isn't gone. Just save it, because maybe it belongs later in the book, or you can salvage, if you love your words, which I'm guilty of having many files of deleted scenes because I love the words and they do not work.
Right.
They're somewhere. They don't have to go away. Thank goodness for like Dropbox and storage.
Yeah. Because it feels like it's such a hard thing, being like, kill your darling, that's the phrase, kill your darlings, having to just put, cut things and things like that. And then also like suggesting someone cut, like, it's all like, there's a level of confrontation that I know everyone deals with it all the time, and it's part of being in this world. But it's like, it seems daunting. Yes. I don't know.
No, it's true. But I think if you point it out, and that's why I love using sort of that educational approach, even when I'm editing, is because usually if you point it out to someone, they see it. It's different if I say, I don't like this, as opposed to me saying, this is what this does, and this is what this could do differently. And then it's like, I always try to say, like, don't point at the writer, like, look at what the work is doing. And the only time I love to point to the writers when I'm like, you are amazing, I love this so much, like, of course, the good stuff. But when something maybe, is critical, or I won't even say necessarily negative, but constructive, is this something we could do a little bit better? Keep it objective.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier about like being respectful to the reader, and I love that so much, because when I read, I know, like, especially when it's like, I know this author, I've read this series, it's good, I know what I'm getting into. But like, what's the method of, in terms of craft, of being of respecting the reader and like what they want, and building trust? Like, what goes into that, I guess?
Oh my gosh, Becky, that is such an amazing question, because I think every author, like, whenever people think like that we're just writing romance or whatever to make a quick, like, there is no easy money in art, full stop. And especially right now with how flooded the market is, like, we are not doing this for the quick buck. Like, most of us absolutely love it and care about this more than anything, and can't not do it. Right. But respecting the reader, I think, is especially important when you're dealing with content, like, and I love these questions. Students ask all kinds of, like, things I would otherwise maybe never even see or read, because of my own reading tastes. But like, the difference between a content warning and a trigger warning. People use the terms interchangeably. I like to separate them just slightly, and think about, like, a content warning is just letting people know that there are issues, topics, themes that may not be for you. Like, if we've got a reader who absolutely is dealing with things related to health, reproduction, whatever it is, let's just be respectful and understand that we know they're buying this or reading this for entertainment and escape. They may not want to have babies or, cancer shoved in their face.
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to trigger, where we're really talking about trauma, and you could actually hurt someone or evoke some real pain, for them. So respecting readers, I think it's seriousness in terms of content, but then also, and this is just like the technician and the editor in me, if you decide, I want to do what I want to do, and not have any awareness of what the readers, like, when people say, like, I want to write a romance because I think it's the easiest, even though I've never read one, it's like, okay, that's not honoring the reader. The reader has probably consumed thousands of words, hundreds of thousands, millions of words in their readership history. And knowing what they want and what they're willing to pay for and what they want from their time means you have to be in the trenches too. You can't write effectively if you've never read a romance novel, or if you haven't read one in 5 years. I know we all get busy, and I'm not saying there's a quota to, do this. There's no, unfortunately, at all barrier to entry, but having that respect for the reader means I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to read successful examples and know why they are successful and why they resonate with readers, as well as stuff that maybe didn't. So I understand, wow, this author tried to do this. Why didn't it work? What was the issue here? And sometimes it's truly just an issue of marketing and money. Like, just enough readers aren't seeing it, which is good to know, because some of my favorite really, really talented indie authors, like, they have 25 reviews on their books, but they're great. And I try to spread the word. And you can't always judge a book by the number of reviews. But being respectful to the reader is, I think, being a reader and starting with that,
Yeah, just like loving the industry, loving, Oh, that's so beautiful. But going to respecting the reader, like when, let's say, like, just because we brought up dark romance and taboo romance, like it seems like with that, there's a delicate kind of dance of like, okay, bringing in the taboo and raising the stakes that way, but also like making sure, I mean, like with the serial killer, but I just finished Butcher and Bluebird, Butcher. Yeah. Like there was a level of like, oh, you're a little bit removed. It's funny, and she has like obviously the funny content warnings in the beginning, but like, it seems like for something maybe like a little more like less, tongue in cheek, I guess, maybe like it seems like there's something like pretty delicate about that.
Yes. And I honestly think the best dark romance writers are reading it by other authors, because and I don't think any of us really know instinctively, because obviously we're not in every reader's living room with them or on their Kindles with them, but knowing what other authors are doing that does resonate, and why are some people comfortable with stalkers and other people aren't? And if you're going to write a stalker, what kind of do the four corners of what works look like? I don't think you can just say, oh, wow, yeah, I'm going to, do this thing. And there's always a first. I mean, until we had 50 Shades of Grey, was anybody writing stuff like that, So that's why I say never. But if you want to learn, if you want to participate and be part of what's working, read it, learn it, and be kind of intentional about it. Because I'll tell you, honestly, the one thing every student early on has said to me, I never thought about the fact that I'm taking a stand and sending messages with every decision that my characters make. And I'm like, how can you not know, that if you kick a puppy, your reader is going to see that your characters are kicking puppies. And that goes to everything, whether it's respecting siblings, respecting themselves, even the small stuff like making a choice to have your characters drinking alcohol. Like, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's just be aware of it. You're making intentional choices, and your readers are going to pick up on those things, whatever they are.
Yeah. That's so, it just made me think like, when like getting kids to read, or reading fiction teaches empathy and things like that. And it's like, well, also like teaching, it seems as if teaching fiction writing can also to help with those empathetic kind of skills, because you're not empathizing with the character, you're also empathizing with the reader in a way.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And the writer, like, I joke about this, but it's so true. I feel like professional editors should have counseling degrees, like, because the stuff people tell us, and it's great. Like, I want to know, I want to be a part, I want to understand, but it's also like, wow, okay. Maybe we should focus on story beats for a minute, because I need to digest.
Right. Yeah. But it's so intertwined. And like, I know that like when it is like your expression, your self-expression, you are like, like I like totally get like how like, oh, I have writer's block, and now I'm like talking about like, something that happened when I was 12, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's connected in a way.
And I'm sure this, like, from your own art and your own, work that you've created, we're always people are always pulling from their own like lived experience, whether it's in specifically the intimacy, the alien romance,
sure.
or just the emotions. Like we have all been through these things, whether it's bullying, whether it's insecurity, whether it's whatever it is, body image, even just the stuff that you're like, okay, I'm going to create this world and it's going to look like the world that I've lived in some way, shape, or form, or the world that people I love have lived in. That's I think a more delicate balance. And I'm not as comfortable like when I've had male clients write female main characters, and it's more work. I think women generally tend to write male characters with more sensitivity, and maybe that's just my biases showing, or the people that have come across my path. But it's all about what you've experienced and the kind of person you are. But our art does reflect who we are and what we've lived through, and the people that we care about and what they've been through. It makes it amazing, but it is work. It is work.
Yeah. Because like, it seems like, you know, in terms of like being an editor, you kind of come in, you're not at the seed of the idea, the beginning of the process. You're coming in like after maybe the writer has already been on a journey. Like, I think finishing stuff is so hard. I don't understand how people do it. And it's like, okay, they finished this. It was so hard. It was such a journey. Like, and it's like, and then you come in, you know what I mean? And it's like such a interesting kind of part of the process to be there, just being with someone's story for the first time when they could have been with that story for like 20 years, you know?
Yep. And that's huge in fantasy, in romantasy or fantasy romance, where people have been dreaming about this universe and this magic system. And I love that. That's amazing. You do get it in contemporary too, like where people are like, I have just lived with these characters and this idea. And that's amazing. That's why I tried never to say like, there's only one way. And if your way isn't working, I'm going to crush your idea. It's like, no, it's a little bit more heartbreaking though, if you've written the whole book and then structurally it does need, you know, maybe some revision. But yeah, it's people, I don't know what it is, because I feel like, especially with books, like readers consume, and that's thank goodness for it. They want more of the same. They want 1,000 more enemies to lovers. They want 1,000 more, you know, ranch romances or whatever it is. So there's so much opportunity, but at the same time, the creative process, like you can get locked down for a very long time because it does mean so much to you, and you can't move past it. You can't finish it. You can't let it go when you do, and being open to changing it once, you know, and that's the thing for me. I always have to just respect if someone doesn't want to make changes. It's a-okay. At the end of the day, I've given you tools, hopefully information, and you know, I can tell you like one or two funny stories. Like I have had clients who like were just hell bent on not changing something. And then they got an agent and the agent made them change it.
Right.
Or, you know, or the agent was like, maybe. And then they got a book deal and it had to be changed. Like, I'm not saying I'm always right. It's just, there are certain things that in the market we know are going to work a little bit easier for a reader. And if you are not there yet, that's okay. You can things can still happen. People can still read and love your work. But yeah, it's a very, writing and stories are such a personal art. It's very different. I don't have any other, like I can crochet, like I have no talent whatsoever. So I cannot relate to people who like paint or sculpt. I wish I could. Like I do like to tell people that like I tried to be a ballet dancer for 5 minutes and I literally, my teacher was so wonderful. She was like, honey, please stick with the writing thing. I like look like an elephant trying to stomp out a fire. I know that. I know it. It would never change. This was not going to be the vessel for me to go that route. So this is the art that I care about and I relate to. And I think everybody who has that burning desire to tell a story has the same deep emotion for it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so clear about that. And like I was telling you earlier, like I feel like every other book I read, in the acknowledgments and thank yous, you are mentioned. Like, you are always there. And I am sure that people listening right now are reading a book and you're going to be in the, like, you've helped out so many authors, you know, like you have like so many fans who are just like fans and clients, but like who just like, you are like, I mean, I know you say you're the book genie, but like you really are.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. I just feel so lucky to get to, like, you know, I couldn't do this fresh out of college. I've had to work loads and loads of jobs that were just like soul crushing. And eventually I had opportunities and I just love it. And I hope people can tell, you know, that I love doing it and I love working with them and I put a lot into it. So, hey, I am thrilled and grateful every time my name is in the back of the book. I'm like, oh, I literally send pictures of them to my dad because my mom, you know this, right? My mom was a romance writer.
Yes. I was actually going to ask, do you ever incorporate your mom into your teaching?
I always do because mom, like, did not have a college degree. She barely graduated high school and she was totally a DIYer. She would like buy multiple copies of the same romance novel and like people would probably cry, but like break the spine, paperclip every chapter, analyze what went where, how. And so she, I think, and then she did have a great career. She published like more than 25 books with Harlequin and Silhouette. And she's now passed away. She's been gone for 10 years. So now I have to send all this to my dad, which he is very gracious about, like cheerleading. Yeah. I know. He's so excited.
Yeah. It's so funny when you were talking about like kind of paper clipping different books, because like that sounds exactly like structure. You know what I mean? Like that sounds like the beginning of your class, the first lesson.
It definitely is. And that's like, I'm telling you, the IKEA furniture story, like I have a master's and MFA in creative writing, and we never, no offense to my university, we never studied structure. I didn't even know what a story beat was until I started editing. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out fast. Like, why doesn't this work? Or how do I explain to an author? Like, and when you're put on the spot and you have to explain why we're rejecting your book and you're a professional author with contracts in other places, why isn't it quote unquote good enough for us? You know, you learn the vocabulary, I think, pretty quickly. And for me, a big part of it was like I had to do kind of the same thing I knew my mom did, which was not just consume it, not just love it as a reader, but as a technician. Like, what the heck works and why does it work in the market with the readers too?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This was so delightful talking to you about this. I feel like I could talk like endlessly. Like, I mean, obviously, like I think, you know, once a week, I'm like, should I write a romance novel? And now I'm like, I think I'm going to do, but I want to ask you like what kind of advice you had for people who like are, because so many people are like, I want to write a romance novel. I know I can. I just getting started is so hard. What do I do? Like, what kind of like blanket advice do you think would like appeals to people? Like, what would you tell them?
I would say the top three things. Number one is pick one romance novel that you love so much that you would read it again and again and again. And now read it for structure. Figure out why it works. Look at like, when do they meet? Why are they the right couple for each other? What happens on page one? And how is that promise delivered by the end of the book? Like, what makes you love it? Really go deep and just analyze the dickens out of it, because that's going to always be your best teacher, is the books that resonate with you. After that, get support in some way. Like, not everybody's going to be able to afford an editor or a course or this or that. Understandable. Don't spend money you don't have, but find your community. If it's other writers or, you know, groups, bookstores, book clubs, etc., make sure that you have support to keep going. And then the third thing is truly just do it, because it is like working out. Again, not something that I personally do, but for those who do it, you know, you do not become a bodybuilder going to the gym every once in a while. Right. And it's the same thing with writing. You don't have to do it every single day. Like, you don't have to be, you know, completely tied down to your calendar. Practice and just know it's going to feel awkward, just like, you know, me in that first ballet class. I did give up, however. That is But that's okay, because that was not the same.
If you went to the second class, you didn't give up. Like, I think that's fine. As someone who cannot ride a bike and tried and all of it, like, it's okay. It's okay.
Becky, I don't think I have been on a bike since childhood, like legitimately. And my dad used to make a joke that like they wouldn't let us ride our bikes around the block. So I actually like don't think I went around the block in our neighborhood until I got my driver's license as a kid. So like there was no physical talent here happening. But
yeah, I mean, I was just like never figured out how to ride a bike. And it's like I would try every summer, and then I got my driver's license, and then I was like, I don't really need to learn. Like, that's how it was, you know?
Yep. Plus getting lost, like on a bike, how does that even work? You know, I'm paying attention to not falling off. How are you looking at where you're going?
Yeah, and it's like balancing and all of that, and you're like moving your body. You're not just being taken someplace by someone else. I don't understand the concept at all.
No music. That's the other thing.
Exactly. Like, this is terrible.
Well, Becky, I want to like interview you for 3 hours to talk about your romance writing ideas. Thank you for asking me all these questions and letting me just blab in your face and your beautiful, beautiful face that I love so much.
Oh my God. Stop it.
I know, but I want to ask you questions because I know you need to write your romance. It's going to be genius, absolutely genius.
I know I need to do it. Like, I feel like oddly, like now you're going to be my therapist, but like, you know, turning 40, you really have you really have a lot of thoughts and feelings about like what taking account of your life. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, well, why didn't I do this yet?
And honestly, I don't want to end on a sad note, but I have had that happen where I had a client pass away during a project. And it was one of those things where, you know, your life's work and you know that's something you don't want to not do. And so you're going to live at least 200 years, Becky. I know this. This is
yes.
one of my gifts.
Yeah.
But don't wait. Don't wait until, you know, because you know what, you might start to forget all the amazing things you've lived through. We need you to be fresh. We need you to be in it.
Yeah. But, you know, it makes me happy that one client started, though. I think just starting is hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think choosing to start is harder than literally anything in the world, you know?
It is. Maybe we've inspired some people. Maybe more people will just pick up their favorite book, read a few lines, and be like, I'm doing this too. Yes. I can do it.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jeannie. This was just so much fun to talk to you.
Yay. Really, thank you. I love it. I love you so much. Thank you, Becky.
I hope you all enjoyed getting extra spicy with me today. And if you didn't enjoy getting extra spicy with me today, then why did you listen to the entire episode? Like, that is on you, buddy. TSTL is part of the Culture Media Network. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a structural rest of your day. Hey, TSTL listeners, if you're a fan of the show and if you are like really rich to the point where you're able to throw in a little bit of financial support, there are numerous ways you can help TSTL continue to put out completely unhinged and hilarious and, let's face it, sexy romance novel content. First, you can become a paid subscriber on TSTL's Substack where you can listen or watch ad-free episodes. I'll also give you free access to my side project on Substack called Claim by TBD, which is a fictional podcast series about a romance podcaster who gets abducted by sexy aliens, but the experience itself is anything but horny. Just visit tstlpodcast.substack.com to subscribe. But if monthly subscriptions aren't really your thing, but you still happen to be like super duper really rich, you can also buy TSTL a happy ending at buymeacoffee.com/TSTL podcast. Each happy ending costs $1, which all goes to support the show. For 3 happy endings, I'll give you a shout out on the podcast, along with a romance novel-inspired pet name. And for 5 happy endings, you'll get a shout out plus a TSTL bookmark in the mail as a thank you gift. Look, even just by listening to TSTL, you're making me feel all tingly and all special inside. But if you feel like your support can be a little more engorged, if you will, you can check out the different ways to support the show at tstlpodcast.com/support. That's tstlpodcast.com/support. Hey, TSTL listeners. Are you an indie author with a book to promote? An artist or designer trying to sell bookish swag? Are you a book talk influencer in need of more followers to do your influencing? Well, TSTL would love to help you out. Hi, I'm Becky. I'm the host of Too Stupid to Live, and I love building new connections with the bookish and sexual health communities, whether it's for sponsorships at amazingly reasonable and negotiable rates, or guest and topic ideas for TSTL's Extra Spice and Hot as Hell episodes. So if you want to hook up, visit tstlpodcast.com/contact, or you can email the show at tstlpod@gmail.com.